One of the challenges when you do product renderings is, for example, like in this case, to try to maintain a similarity between the different material colors. And as you can see here, I'm using white for the frame, a dark gray for the tires, a brighter gray for the spokes. And then I'm going to use green, for example, for the silicone parts for the handlebar, for the seat, as well as for the frame, and actually a little bit as an accent color for the rims. Now, each of those parts can have different materials. For example, the seat is a different, in real life, different material than, for example, the silicone for the handlebars. And ideally, I would like to be able to change, for example, the green value for all these materials at the same time. And if I click on the chair, you can see, not shared, seat, you can see the color I'm using here. If I click, for example, on my kickstand, I have the same color. And currently, I'm also, for those using the same material, but at one point, I would like to not use the same material, but just the same color. So one way to do this is actually creating RGB inputs and then using those as a group and sharing that among different materials. So for example, I can press Shift A, color, input RGB, and then go here to this color field, press Control or Apple C based on your operating system, and then here move my mouse over this color field, Apple V or Control V, and then I copy this in. I can do the same, for example, with the tire color, and the same with, for example, the rim color. So those are shared materials. For example, you can see that the rim color is the same as the pipe material below the seat, and it's the same color for the hinge between the frame and the front fork. Now all those colors I can select with B, draw a selection, and then actually create a group by pressing Control G, make new group. And if I click in and say maybe this should be color inputs, this is, for example, green. I call this one gray dark. Then I call this one here gray bright. So what can I do now with this? I can, let me increase this view here, start rearranging them a little bit, and then drag those elements out. And you see then for this group, it creates color outputs. Can call this one again. And then when I press tab, I'm going to close this group. If I press tab, I'm going to open this group, and I can move this group around. And you see here now I could say, well, put this one in there. And this group, the nice thing about this is it can be shared among multiple materials. So for example, if I go to, let's say, the wheel, the rim, I have two different materials here. So I click on green, and I'm going to, and you see that, for example, it shares the same material. So here, for example, I'm going to separate this one and say this should now not be green, but a seed material. And this, for example, should be my rim material. So I have two different materials, as you can see, but they all use the same color input. So I could, for example, go ahead, press tab, and then say, well, this should maybe be a different green. Maybe it should be more of this color. And if I switch my shading to material, then there we can see how, for example, this is all being updated. So this way you can have individual materials and give them at the same time the same color adjustment by using groups and having inside those groups then simple RGB inputs and feed them respectively into the diffuse inputs of your individual material. And in this way you can cut down the amount of copy and paste to match the different product colors for your, or no, not product colors, the colors of your different parts for your product.